Have you ever received one message that instantly changed your whole mood? It's just a few words on a screen, but suddenly your heart beats faster, your chest feels tight, and your fingers want to reply immediately. Not calmly, not wisely, just fast. Or maybe you've been rejected, a job, a relationship, an opportunity you really wanted, and even if you tried to act normal, your mind whispered something painful. Maybe I'm not good enough. And then there's comparison. You open your phone, see someone winning at life. New job, new body, new achievements. And without realizing it, your motivation drops. Not because your life is bad, but because your brain just started measuring your behind the scenes against someone else's highlight reel. If any of this feels familiar, here's the truth. The problem is not that you are weak. The problem is that nobody taught you how to manage your mind. Most people think mental strength means being cold, emotionless, never hurt, never shaken. They imagine someone who never feels anxious, never feels sad, never feels anger. But that's not strength. That's suppression. Real mental strength is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to stay steady while emotion is happening. It's feeling anger, but choosing your words carefully. It's feeling fear, but still taking the next step. It's feeling disappointment, but refusing to let it define your identity. Mental strength is the gap between stimulus and response. It's the moment where you decide, I will not let this control me. Here's the science in simple terms. When stress hits, your body automatically activates a survival response. Fight, flight, or freeze. Fight makes you argue or attack. Flight makes you avoid or escape. Freeze makes your mind go blank. This is your nervous system doing its job. It's ancient, automatic, and fast. But mentally strong people are not those who never get triggered. They are the ones who know how to regulate their nervous system. They breathe. They pause. They let the chemical wave of emotion pass instead of feeding it with more thoughts. An emotional pause is power. That small moment, where you breathe instead of reacting, is where maturity lives. It's where reputation is protected. It's where relationships are saved. It's where long-term success is decided. Strong minds are not loud. They are regulated. They are not reactive. They are responsive. And that's exactly what we're building in this video. Not fake motivation, not dramatic speeches, but a practical framework you can use in real life. You'll learn how to control emotional reactions, how to interrupt overthinking, how to build real resilience instead of pretending to be fine, and how to train mental discipline every day, even when you don't feel motivated. And along the way, you'll improve your English naturally, because clear thinking creates clear speaking. Short, structured, powerful sentences. So let's begin with this truth. Mental strength is not about being unbreakable. It's about being able to pause, regulate, and choose, especially when it's hardest. Let's go deeper. Because staying calm is not a personality trait. It's a trained skill. When something stressful happens, your brain reacts before you even think. This is called an amygdala hijack. The amygdala is the emotional alarm system of your brain. It scans for danger. The problem is, it doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a hurt ego. So when someone criticizes you, ignores you, or challenges you, your brain reacts as if you're in physical danger. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles tighten. Your breathing changes. And in that moment, logic becomes weaker. That's why people say things they regret. That's why small arguments turn into big conflicts. But here's something powerful. Emotions are chemical waves. And most emotional reactions rise and fall within about 90 seconds, if you don't keep feeding them with more thoughts. That means if you pause for 90 seconds without adding fuel to the story in your head, the emotional intensity naturally decreases. The feeling passes through you instead of controlling you. This is where regulation begins. One simple technique that works immediately is box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Hold again for 4 seconds. Repeat. This pattern signals safety to your nervous system. Your heart slows down. Your mind stabilizes. Your body shifts out of survival mode. Calm is not something you have. It's something you practice. Now let's talk about overthinking. Because chaos doesn't only happen outside. It happens inside your head. There's a difference between rumination and reflection. Reflection is healthy. It asks, what can I learn from this? Rumination is repetitive and unproductive. It asks, why am I like this? Why did this happen to me? Over and over again without moving forward. Reflection builds clarity. Rumination builds anxiety. When you catch yourself looping, use a simple interruption phrase. This is not useful. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Just factual. Your brain is running a pattern that is not helping you. Interrupt it. Then use the control circle method. Divide the situation into 3 parts. What do I control? What can I influence? What must I release? You control your words, your effort, your preparation. You influence other people through communication and behavior. You release their opinions, the past, the timing of events, things outside your authority. Most stress comes from trying to control what belongs in the release category. The moment you shift energy back to what you control, anxiety decreases. And then there's presence. Because often we are not overwhelmed by reality. We are overwhelmed by imagination. A simple grounding tool is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This pulls your brain out of future fear or past regret and back into the present moment. Another underrated skill? Single task focus. When your mind is scattered, your stress increases. When you do one thing at a time, fully, your nervous system stabilizes. Eat while eating. Listen while listening. Work while working. Multitasking feels productive, but it fragments attention and increases mental fatigue. Calmness is not weakness. It is strength under control. Every time you pause instead of react, you strengthen that muscle. Every time you interrupt overthinking, you strengthen that muscle. Every time you bring your focus back to the present, you strengthen that muscle. And just like physical training, it feels uncomfortable at first. But repetition builds resilience. Emotional control is the foundation, but discipline builds the structure. Now that we've built the foundation of emotional control, we need to talk about something most people avoid: discomfort. Because mental strength does not grow in comfort. It grows in controlled stress. There's a difference between your comfort zone and your growth zone. Your comfort zone feels safe, predictable, and easy. You know the outcomes. You know the routines. There's little risk of embarrassment or failure. But there's also little expansion. The growth zone, on the other hand, feels slightly uncomfortable. Not dangerous, just stretching. You might feel nervous. You might feel uncertain. But that discomfort is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that your brain is adapting. Psychologists sometimes call this stress inoculation. Just like a vaccine exposes you to a small, manageable amount of a virus, so your body becomes stronger, controlled exposure to difficulty builds psychological strength. When you voluntarily face small challenges, a difficult conversation, a cold shower, a public speaking moment, a tough workout, you train your nervous system to tolerate stress instead of avoiding it. Avoidance makes fear grow. Exposure makes fear shrink. This is why one of the most powerful habits you can build is simple. Do one hard thing first. Before checking your phone. Before scrolling. Before distractions. Identify the task you've been postponing, the uncomfortable one, and start there. When you finish it, something shifts internally. Your confidence increases, not because it was easy, but because you proved you could face resistance. Comfort makes life feel smooth. Discomfort makes you strong. But here's where most people misunderstand growth. They think motivation is the key. They wait until they feel ready. The problem is motivation is emotional. And emotions fluctuate. Discipline is different. Discipline acts regardless of mood. Instead of saying, I hope I feel motivated today, disciplined people say, this is what I do. That's identity-based behavior. You don't say, I'm trying to study English. You say, I am someone who practices daily. That identity changes your decisions. Because when identity shifts, behavior follows. Take something simple like improving your English. One person studies intensely for 3 days, watches hours of videos, feels inspired, and then disappears for 2 weeks. Another person practices 10 minutes every single day. Reading out loud, writing a short paragraph, speaking to the mirror. After 6 months, the second person will always win. Not because they were more talented, but because they showed up consistently. Resilience is built in boredom, not in excitement. The ability to show up when it's repetitive, when it's quiet, when no one notices. That is mental strength. Now let's talk about patience, because resilience is long-term. There was a famous study, often called the marshmallow experiment. Children were given a choice. Eat 1 marshmallow now, or wait and receive 2 later. Some couldn't wait. Others delayed gratification. Years later, researchers noticed something interesting. The children who could wait tended to show stronger self-control and better long-term outcomes. The lesson is simple. The ability to delay short-term pleasure for long-term gain is a form of strength. Modern life trains the opposite. Instant notifications, instant entertainment, instant validation. But real growth is slow. Think of a tree. Before it grows tall and visible, it grows roots underground. Invisible work. No applause. No recognition. But those roots determine how well it survives storms. If you focus only on visible results, you'll feel impatient. If you focus on root-building habits, you'll feel steady. Maybe your progress feels small. Maybe you're not fluent yet. Maybe your discipline isn't perfect. But if you're showing up consistently, you're growing roots. And roots matter more than speed. Resilience is repetition under resistance. It's doing the right thing when it would be easier not to. It's practicing when bored. It's staying patient when progress feels invisible. It's choosing long-term stability over short-term comfort. And here's the key. Discomfort is not your enemy. Uncontrolled chaos is. Voluntary challenge builds you. Passive avoidance weakens you. But mental strength is not just about pushing harder. It's not about constant pressure. It's also about knowing what to protect. Because if discipline builds you, protection preserves you. And that's where we're going next. Mental strength is not only about pushing yourself harder. It's also about protecting your energy. Because you can build discipline, build resilience, build focus, and still feel drained if your environment constantly weakens you. Let's start with attention. We live in a world that rewards visibility. Likes, views, comments, shares, and slowly, without realizing it, many people become addicted to attention. Not because they are shallow, but because attention triggers dopamine. Dopamine is the brain's reward chemical. Every notification gives you a small hit. Your brain starts associating validation with worth. This creates a loop. You post. You wait. You check. You refresh. You measure your value by reactions. And if the reaction is low, your mood drops. If it's high, you feel powerful, temporarily. That's validation addiction. Mentally strong people break this loop. They stop asking, "Who noticed me?" and start asking, "Did I show up with integrity?" They shift from external applause to internal standards. They focus on output, not reactions. They build quietly, because attention is unstable. Self-respect is stable. Now let's talk about comparison, one of the fastest ways to destroy peace. Social media shows you highlight reels, not real life. You see results, not struggles. Promotions, not rejections. Weddings, not loneliness. Success, not doubt. And your brain forgets that. It compares your everyday reality with someone else's best moment. That's not a fair comparison, but your nervous system reacts as if it is. Remember the bamboo metaphor? Let's upgrade it. The illusion of timelines is dangerous. When you see someone rising fast, you're seeing the visible stage of their journey. What you don't see are the years of invisible work. The failures, the nights of doubt, the slow foundation building. Some people bloom like flowers. Others build like bamboo, years underground before visible growth. The danger is judging your root phase by someone else's bloom phase. Mental strength means trusting your timeline, even when it looks slower. Now let's go practical. If you want to protect your mind, you need an input diet. Just like food affects your body, information affects your thinking. Ask yourself, what am I feeding my brain daily? Drama? Gossip? Fear-based news? Constant outrage? Comparison content? Your brain absorbs patterns. If you consume chaos, you will think chaotically. Choose better inputs. Read things that stretch you. Listen to conversations that build you. Follow creators who educate instead of provoke. Unfollow what triggers insecurity or anger. This is environment design. You don't rely on willpower alone. You change the environment so better choices become easier. Remove apps from your home screen. Set screen time limits. Create a workspace that reduces distraction. Surround yourself with people who discuss ideas instead of people. And create digital boundaries. You don't need to respond immediately to every message. You don't need to argue in comment sections. You don't need to consume every opinion. Silence is a strategy. Protecting your mind is not selfish. It's intelligent. Peace is not something you find randomly. Peace is something you protect intentionally. The more you reduce unnecessary noise, the clearer your thinking becomes. The clearer your thinking becomes, the stronger your decisions become. Because strength is not only built through pressure, it is preserved through boundaries. And finally, strength becomes permanent when it becomes identity. At some point, mental strength stops being something you practice and starts becoming who you are. That's the real shift. Most people say, I want to be mentally strong. But that sentence keeps strength in the future. It makes it optional, temporary, dependent on mood. The stronger shift is this. I am someone who handles discomfort calmly. Notice the difference. One is a wish. The other is an identity. When identity changes, behavior follows naturally. If you see yourself as someone who pauses before reacting, you pause. If you see yourself as someone who faces discomfort instead of avoiding it, you lean in. If you see yourself as someone who grows slowly but consistently, you stop panicking about speed. Mental strength becomes less about effort and more about alignment. Let me give you 3 long-term rules to anchor this identity. First, pause before reacting. This is non-negotiable. Big arguments, big decisions, big emotions. None of them deserve instant reactions. Build a habit of delay. A few breaths. A short walk. A night of sleep before major responses. That pause protects your reputation, your relationships, and your future. Second, do one uncomfortable thing daily. Not something dramatic, just something that stretches you. Speak up when you would normally stay silent. Finish the task you've been postponing. Have the honest conversation. Choose the workout. Read the difficult page. Tiny exposures build massive resilience over time. Third, improve 1% weekly. Not perfectly, not aggressively, just intentionally. One new skill. One upgraded habit. One refined behavior. When you compound 1% improvements over months and years, you become unrecognizable. Not because you rushed, but because you stayed consistent. And here's something important. Mental strength is not about being better than other people. It's not about being superior, dominant, or emotionally cold. It's about stability. It's about not being easily manipulated by opinions. It's about not collapsing over small inconveniences. It's about not destroying years of work because of one impulsive reaction. It's about walking into a chaotic world with a regulated mind. You will still feel fear. You will still feel doubt. You will still have bad days. Mental strength does not remove humanity. It refines it. You don't need to be unbreakable. You need to be adaptable. Strong people bend. They adjust. They recover. They learn. They move forward. And if this message resonated with you, take a second to make it real. Like this video if you choose strength over drama. Subscribe to Inspire English Stories if you want to grow your mindset and your English at the same time. And in the comments, write one sentence. One mental habit I'm building is ______. Make it specific. Make it personal. Because being mentally strong is not about being unbreakable. It's about learning how to bend without losing yourself.